Okay, I think I'm back on. Uh, I'm just sending the link again. Okay. Hello, Bruna, my dear friend. I'm just starting for people to appear because my power went out, unfortunately. Okay, let's see who is here. Okay, Greg Jasper is here. Hello, Greg. Thanks for being here. Um, okay, so I'm gonna start over. I'm gonna tell you what happened. Because I'm the luckiest person on earth. My power went out after only 3 minutes of life. So now I got my power back on, and I can live stream for you guys. Hopefully, for without further interruptions. Okay, so I'm here to talk about Algy. The complete name of the book is Algy, the privileged life of Titanic survivor Algernon Barkworth. For me, it's one of the most interesting survival stories of the Titanic. Um, Algy was a very rich man who was going to the United States um, for the first time because he was on holiday. He was a magistrate, uh, and he wanted to see what it would be like to travel on the biggest ship of the world. Oh, Randy is here and wishing me luck. Thank you so much, Randy. Okay, uh, so why did I want to write this book? Actually, this book started as a bigger project. Um, Me and my friends who are here, Randy and Greg, wanted to write a book about all the people who were part of what today is called the LGBT community, and uh, we just couldn't agree on how to move on with the book, so it was a no go. But when I decided that I had already written so much about Algernon, it was going to be the first chapter that I was going to write for the book. So I decided to publish it separately as a book. And this book here, it took about less than a year to prepare, and it had I had so much help from so many people. Greg and Randy, thank you so much for helping me, because you helped me to edit the book, and also with some of the research as well. Also, Michael Free and Justin Lowe, those guys helped me so much to understand Audrey's life, and the things that he liked, the things that he liked to do, the things that he his dreams, his passions. Um, for me, it's very important to reclaim those stories before they are forgotten, really. Because of course you can research newspapers and letters and accounts, but some people have memories, uh, if not from Algy, from someone who knew them. And I interviewed several of those people, about what they knew from about Algernon. And if you don't interview them in time, these informations, this info are going to be lost forever. And that's why you have to try to register it as soon as possible. Uh, that's what I did with this book. And because of my research, because of the people that I interviewed, I could confirm that actually Algernon is one of the few gay passengers who were on the Titanic. So that's something that I cover on this book. The man that he loved, the man that he was connected with. So this book also, it's not only a book about his survival of the Titanic. Of course, it's a good part of the book is his relationship with the ship and the sinking, how he survived. But it's also about his personal life, especially his love life. Okay. Bruna says, I can't wait to read it. Your copy is already reserved, darling. Thank you so much for your interest in my book. I'd like to talk also about the cover. I don't know if you can see here. This cover was by Titanic artist, Russian Titanic artist Tatiana Yamshinova. Uh, and her work is exquisite because it's technical and also human oriented. So many Titanic artists only draw the ship, and they don't focus on the people. And because I was writing a biography, I needed focus on the character. So here you can see Algernon. He was preparing to jump off the ship. That's how he survived. Um, and here you can see two of his friends who did not jump from the ship and unfortunately died. And also here a passenger named Howard Case, who thought the ship was going to remain afloat, so he didn't leave the ship. He also was smoking his cigarette calmly when Algy saw him last, and unfortunately he perished as well. Oh, Roberta is here. Hello, Hobbs. Thank you for joining me also on this live chat about my book, Algy. Great to have you here. And this is basically what the book is about. It's about the life of Algernon Barkworth. It's also illustrated. You can see here photos of the ship. I have also photos from Algy. Uh, this is the most known photo from him. Credits to Justin Lowe. He owns the original photography. In the internet, you can see this photo, but it's basically um, uh, in a sepia tone. It doesn't have a lot of quality, but in here in my book, you can see it a screen. Uh, a print of the original photo, so it's in higher quality. You can see the details. Doug Marshall said, terrific cover art, really draws the reader in. Thank you so much. The credits are all to Tatiana Yamshinova. The concept was mine, but the execution was all her. Bruna said, very classy gentleman. Yes, he was really classy and really rich as well. Um, Roberta said, great cover indeed. Thank you so much, Hobbs. The book, I wanted to have a cover to draw attention. I think with Tatiana's talent, I got my wish. Let me show you more photos about. Oh, here's something interesting. Here is a photo of um, a cabin on the Olympic. Okay, so in this cabin, uh, of course, Algy was on the Titanic, so um, he he never set foot on this cabin, but the cabin on the Titanic would be very much similar. So you can see that a first class cabin was not that luxurious. It was actually quite small. Only a few of them were really spacious, like the one Rose had in the movie Titanic. This was would be sort of like the usual first class cabin. It had a bed, it had a sofa, a little table with a wash basin, and a little fan on the top, and uh, something on the a little I don't know how to pronounce this in English, but it's where you can put your suitcases on, like a bookshelf, but for suitcases. Um, so here is where Algy slept every night he spent on the Titanic. Okay, let me see if I can show you something more. This is also a cool picture of the Titanic, one of the last ones ever taken of the ship, but not the last one. Yeah, Bruna said, I really thought the first class cabins were just like roses. Yeah, they were not. Uh, Rose's cabin was actually just, there are only two like hers on the Titanic. Uh, One was, or was it four? It's four at the most. Bruce Ismay was also had a cabin like Rose's, but it was not a lot because they took up so much space because they had a private promenade where people could enjoy tea like Rose had in the movie. So they couldn't afford to put so many cabins like that on the Titanic. You wouldn't, of course they were expensive, but they needed more to put more people on the ship to really make a profit. Randy said, you can see it, but there was a wardrobe closet as well. Yes, there was. Good point, Randy. Let me see what else they had here. Oh, it's a luggage rack. Sorry, I didn't remember the name. It had the wash basin, a mahogany dressing table, a chair, also not pictured in the photo, a wardrobe with a mirror door, an electric heater for cold nights, and a sofa berth. Okay. Let me see more here. What can I show you guys? Um, I want to show his house. Um, just a second. Mm, Okay, here it is. His house was called Shrimby House. It was a two-story house. It was not that big compared to other mansions in England or in the United States, but it was considered a mansion. It was really, really big because it had other spaces here. It had a barn. It had uh, other places, to grow uh, food in. It had stables. Um, it had places to for animals because Algy was really fond of animals, and it was really luxurious inside because Algy's family was really rich. They had they had become rich because they were in the shipping business, the shipbuilding and shipping business. So they had a lot of money off the shipping lanes that they explored. Let me see here more photos. You can see here photos of Algy as a young boy. These are never before seen photos. I got them from a researcher, and he allowed me to publish the photos in the book. Here is Algy as a young man. Maybe he was like 18, 19, 20 in in this photo. Roberta said Carl was really rich. Yes, he was, but then he lost everything when the with the stock crash in 1929. So Algernon died a rich man. um, Randy asked, "It was a farm, right?" And it still stands today. Well, it was not a farm. It had places to grow food in, but it was not largely for that. It was more like uh, where he kept his animals. He used to sell some of them, but not all of them. He sold bullocks, um, castrated bulls or young bulls, dependent on the definition. Um, so that was something that he usually traded in the local markets. He also sold sheep and occasionally horses, but he had animals of his own, pets. He had horses, he had pets, he had uh, trained dogs, which he enrolled in competitions. Um, Let me see some more photos here. Um, okay, here you can see a photo of Collapsible B. This submerged lifeboat was a boat in which Algernon stood on the night of April 15th, 1912. He and more than 20 men stood here all night, um, waiting to be rescued. And this is actually a photo when the boat was found still upside down in by the Mackay Bennett, the rescue ship who was hired to rescue the bodies of the Titanic. Um, Bruna said he really looks like an old school tattoo. Okay. And Doug Marshall said more like a country state. Yes, it was a country state because it was in Hessel, and Algy worked in Hull, which was a bigger city, and Hessel was more like a quiet city. So it was more like a country state. I agree with you, Doug. Let me show you something else here. Okay, the next picture I want to show you guys is um, this photo of I don't know if you can see it. Okay, but it's of Walter Garner. It was the man who Algernon had a relationship with uh, throughout several years, and you can check out the whole story on my book. Um, let me see. Let me see here. Okay, and these I can show you guys. Um, was probably one of the last photos here of in existence of Algy. He was by now an old man in his 80s, and a few years later he died in 1945. So this is also a photo that appears for the first time in my book. Um, Let me see here if there is anything else. Okay, and a picture of him in his garden, which he also liked to tend to in his later days. Okay, and this you can see. Randy asked earlier if it still stands today. It still stands today, Randy, but it's now a school, and the the building of the school is used for older students, and this here is the new building built for younger students. It's also it's something common in that place in England. Uh, so many of the old mansions were converted into schools. Okay, okay. So I think that's it for the book. You can see here, Algy is available on Amazon. I will send you the link. Um, Let me just see where it is. Algy. Yola. I'm sending you the link in the chat right now, so you guys can buy if you want to. Uh, it has a little bit under 200 pages. It's a very short book to read because it has a lot of photos in it. Um, okay, so now that I explained a little bit about the book, I'm open to questions about the book or my work. Whatever you want to talk about, I can answer right now. Okay, let's see here what I missed from the chat. Uh, Bruna Barcarolo said, okay, but how come James Cameron never thought about mentioning Algae? His survival story seems extraordinary indeed. Bruna, I think uh, James Cameron didn't research the Titanic factual story that much because, especially when passengers are concerned, because on his movie only the most famous passengers appeared. You see there the Countess of Rose, uh, John Jacob Astor, and Benjamin Guggenheim, and the straws appeared in a deleted scene. Um, so I don't think he would include someone who was not that famous at the time. Algernon was a rich man, but he was not that famous. He was famous on his region in England, which is East Yorkshire, but he was not a known passenger throughout England, and particularly in the United States because he had never been there. So I don't think he knew about Algernon. So far, none of the movies or miniseries or series about the Titanic included Algernon. He is yet to be portrayed by anyone on screen. So I hope that one day I can see someone playing Algernon on the big screen or the small screen. Um, Doug Marshall commented, I think, about what Bruno wrote. He said, Cameron didn't care about the facts. He created a sappy fictional storyline. Please do not confuse fact with fiction. Yes, I do believe that you have to watch the Titanic movie as fiction because, of course, he put a little bit of the facts here and there, but they are so intertwined with the fiction that you can't really separate which one is which. So, if you want to research the real disaster, you have to go with books and documentaries and stay away from um, Cameron's movie. I really love Cameron's movie, but I take it for what it is, which is a fictional movie. I can enjoy it, but of course, it's not the real history. Um, okay, so Doug Marshall said he would buy my book today. Thank you so much. I appreciate that a lot. Um, And Doug Marshall said, asked actually, did Algy suffer criticism for surviving the sinking? I didn't find any evidence of that whatsoever, though. Actually, I think he was spared the criticism for two reasons. Firstly, he didn't try to get on a boat, okay? He jumped off the ship when all the boats had left the ship, and he only survived because he climbed aboard Collapsible B. So all the men who were saved aboard Collapsible B, like Archibald Gracie and Jack Thayer and Commander Lightoller, they didn't face criticism because they weren't um, taking the place of any women and children because the boat was already in the water. Algernon had to swim to get to the boat. So he was only trying to save himself without taking the spot for anybody else. Okay, and there was another reason for Algernon not facing criticism because he was a magistrate, a justice of the peace in East Yorkshire. He for many years actually he was appointed as a magistrate in 1903, and by the time he sailed on the Titanic, he was already a magistrate for about 9 years. So he was already a very small celebrity on East Yorkshire. So I don't think people would criticize him because they were a very small community, a very tight knit community that revered, that adored their authorities, and Algy was an authority. So he was not criticized because he already held such a valuable place in in his English community, and his prestige lasted until he retired as a magistrate about 1939 and 40. I'm not sure when he retired. I think he retired in the early 40s. So Algernon was such an authority and so respected that people wouldn't criticize him merely for surviving his ordeal aboard the Titanic. Okay, so that was the last question. Maybe someone would like to ask anything else. Okay, so we have any question here by Bruna, my dear friend. What made you decide to tell his story? Well, as I explained, this book was actually part of a much bigger project. Me together with authors Randy Brian Began and Greg Jasper, we wanted to write a book about every single passenger or crew member who was what we call today part of the LGBT community. So uh, for that reason, we started writing the book, but the plans for the book fell through maybe 2 months later. And by that time, I had already written so much of Algernon's chapter. And because I had written so much and I still have had a lot of material to go with, I decided to turn this chapter into a book. Because it is books length. It has a little bit under 200 pages, so there is a lot of info to convey. It's too big for a chapter. So I decided to publish it as a book, and um, I think it was the right decision because it gained a lot of attention on the Titanic community, and a lot of people are now knowing a little bit more about Algernon's story, which makes me really proud because I want new stories to be told and new stories to be uncovered because so many passengers are still just a name um, on the Titanic community. We need to learn more about them. So I'm glad I could, just provide an additional part of the Titanic puzzle and tell a story which, up until 2022, was still untold. So I believe I contributed to the Titanic community, telling a story which nobody knew in its entirety. So here it is, a dream of mine that came true. Um, Okay, so Randy also commented something. He said it was mainly that he swam away, but had he escaped in a lifeboat before the sinking, he would have possibly been criticized. I agree, Randy. You can just see the major example of this was Bruce Ismay, who was the owner of White Star Line, and he actually stepped on one of the last boats, but because it was a boat that was still on the Titanic, and was lowered, just like any other boat, um, Bruce Ismay was unjustifiedly called a coward, and his career was demolished after that. He was never the same man afterwards, and he was severely criticized. Not only him, but so many other men who survived, mainly male passengers, were criticized just because they got on boats, on lifeboats. Um, Before the ship sank. The men who were saved, who sank with the ship and swam to another boat, like Algernon, they I don't remember any of them being criticized because they didn't take a spot on a regular lifeboat. They sank with the ship and they swam to salvation. So um, that's why Algernon was not criticized by his peers. Um, Doug Marshall asked, "Will you write another book on another passenger or crew member?" Well, actually, I am currently retired from the Titanic world because I had already I have already written another book in Portuguese called Faces do Titanic, translated as Faces of the Titanic. And I think I already told every single story that I wanted to tell. And right now, I want to write stories about personalities of my country. Actually, I'm preparing a third book, but it's going to be about a singer, a Brazilian singer. So I don't know if I'm going to write anything about the Titanic in the future. Algy is, I know, my swan song about Titanic research. Okay. Um, Randy said the book Greg and I are working on is going forward, and hopefully Bruno will contribute to it to some extent, as we intend to include Algy. Of course, I would love to contribute because then it's another another chance for people to learn a little bit more about Algernon story. So good luck with the book that you and Greg are preparing. Okay. Um, okay. Do you have any other questions? If you want to ask anything else, I can. Um, okay, so Greg is sending me a correction. Sorry. Um, Ismail was not the owner of White Star Line. He was the president of International Mercantile Marine and chairman and managing director of White Star Line. Thanks for the correction, Greg. Um, okay. Okay, let's see. Another question from Bruna. Did you find it difficult to find information on Algae? Well, some of it was easy because I managed to become friends with researchers, local researchers from the area where Algernon lived, which is East Yorkshire. They had research on Algernon that they shared with me, and they didn't publish anywhere. So the first time this research was published was on my book. Um, so that part was easy because they had so much material right at hand. However, some of it was so difficult to track down, mainly his personal life. Because I wanted to find out if he was gay or not, and we're talking about someone who lived in who died in 1945 and was born on 1864. So he was born in the 19th century. It's really difficult to talk about someone who lived so long ago and to talk about his private life. So I had to track down so many people. It was difficult to track down relatives of the man he had a relationship with, but I did manage to track down a good amount of people who could confirm to me that he was gay. But up until that confirmation, I had such uh, a difficult time tracking them down, trying to confirm this information. Because when you talk about private lives, it's difficult to confirm something recent. Um, and when you try to find out the private life of someone who lived so long ago, it's even more difficult. And it's almost impossible to track down and research someone's private life or uh, who I thought was gay. So it was a challenge. It was really difficult to track down all those infos, but I thank God I did it, and all the info is here in this book, and you can find out everything there is to know about Algy's personal life. Everything that it's possible to know is here. I don't think I left anything behind because my research process was very, very thorough. Okay. Um, Randy said Bruno had the courage to tell the full story of Algy for the first time. Thank you, Randy, for the kind words. Um, Not many people like to talk about Algy's sexual orientation because it's still taboo to talk about it at this time and age, unfortunately. Many people didn't want me to publish this kind of info, but when you talk about a straight person, you it's natural to talk about the people he was in a he or she were in a relationship. For instance, how can you tell John Lennon's story without talking about Yoko Ono? How do you talk about Barack Obama without talking about Michelle? So if I'm going to tell all this history, I have to tell about the people he was in love with, or at least the people he had a relationship with. So for me, it's natural to talk about his private life, his love life. Um, Although many people didn't want that part of his life published, sorry, it's history, and I wanted to tell that part of his story, and I did tell. So you can find every single scrap of information I was able to uncover in my book, Algy. Uh, and Randy commented, and thank you for doing it and not giving into pressure to sanitize his life. Yeah, if I was going to sanitize his life, there was no point in writing a book, of course. I wanted to write um, a book that uh, tried to recall his life, recollect his life as close as it was as possible. If you want to tell a sanitized version of his life, then you're doing the job half done, and I don't like doing the jobs half done. I like to do the job in its entirety. So I'm really proud of my book, the way I wrote it, the information I got for my book, because much of it is was unpublished up until the publication of my book. So there is brand new information here for everybody, not only of the Titanic, but of his life as well. So for me, this book is a great accomplishment. And Doug Marshall just said, Amen. Oh, thank you so much, Doug. Um, so, anybody else has any more questions? I see we have six people online. Maybe you want to ask anything else before I finish the live chat. Of course, this live chat will be available afterwards for people who want to um, check it out later, who cannot watch it right now. But of course, if people who are online, if you want to ask anything else, I'm here. So, um, Randy asked, tell about Algy being proud of his surviving Titanic. Well, Algy actually, I don't know if proud is the right word, but he actually did not hide it either because he gave a lot of interviews concerning his survival of the Titanic. So he was actually, you know, he was not being coy or discreet about it. He wanted his story known because, of course, it was a part of his life that was really important. It almost killed him. So in 1912, you can see a lot of accounts uh, given by Algernon about his survival on the Titanic, and it was really important for me because I could um, recount everything that happened to him aboard the Titanic before the crashing with the iceberg, and afterwards, of course. Um, and afterwards, after 1912, he didn't talk about the Titanic a lot, but he in 1933 was the last time he spoke publicly of the disaster. But in among his family members, he was always known as a survivor of the Titanic. So he was known for that, and he was not ashamed of that. He was, I believe, eager to tell his story, but in private circles after 1912. Okay. Um, Bruna asked the question. I'm going to translate it into English. Um, Apart from his researches, did you find any resistance among his family? Brunei did. Uh, so the living Barkward clan didn't want to discuss, particularly his love life. Uh, they didn't, they said one family member said he didn't know anything about it, which I very much doubt, but because he knew everything about his life but his personal life. Uh, and another family member confirmed he was gay but said nothing else on the subject because he said the subject among the Barkworth living clan was still taboo, even in today's times. So that was a difficulty that I encountered when writing the book. But thank God that I managed through other sources confirm his um, homosexuality and everything you can want to know about his this part of his life. You can find it on my book. Doug Marshall said, "Good job, Bruno. Thank you. Oh, I'm the one who has to thank you for your support and interest in my project." Bruno asked, was there someone from his family that you could talk to? Um, well, actually, uh, because he didn't have any children, So there was no direct relatives, but he had brothers and sisters, and uh, they had children. So that's why the Barkworth family still exists today. And because of that, I could track down people from the Barkworth family who were living today. And that's why I could I actually talked to two of them, the closest ones. I talked to other Barkworth people, but they were more distant relatives of Algy. So I prefer to include in the book people who were um, close to Algy, maybe distant cousins, you know. But yes, I could track down some of Algernon's living descendants, just not direct descendants because he didn't have any children. Uh, Yes, Randy asked, he had a painting of it in his room, right? And saved his clothes. Yes, he did. He had a painting of Titanic in his living room, and he saved the clothes of he was wearing that night, and especially his coat, because he said his coat managed to save him from drowning because he was very, very thick, and the water didn't enter. On the interior of the coat, so it helped Algernon remain afloat when he was already on the water. Um, so of course he I think he was thankful for his survival, but I don't know if he was proud, but it was definitely a part of his life that uh, he never wanted to forget because it was really a moving point, a moving part of his life, actually. Randy asked, the descendants of Walter did not want to correspond with you, though, which says a lot as far as the truth of that relationship. So, Walter, mentioned by Randy, was Algernon's chauffeur, and he was the one who had a relationship with Algernon. Yes, actually, Walter's daughter is still alive. She is 88 in late 2022. Uh, sorry, early 2022. But she didn't want to talk with me. I tried to manage an interview with her, but she didn't want to talk about her father's relations with Algernon. So of course, yes, that silence speaks volumes, of course. But I really wanted her to talk about me, about what she remembered about her father, because she was a little girl at the time. Of course, she has memories of him. Yeah, well, if her mind is all right at 88, um, I I don't know how she is mentally, but if she is, a healthy old woman, she would have memories of her father. Maybe she even met Algernon. I don't know because she never granted me an interview. So we'll have to respect her wishes. But I think her silence confirms that really her father had a relationship with Algernon. Okay. So anything else? I think that's the last question from Renzi. Uh, well, and as I said, you can buy my book on um, Amazon, and you can buy my book through me as well. Um, I'm going to be selling books uh, with my autograph on them. So if you want to buy it, you can talk to me and we can arrange something. Okay. Randy said you interviewed relatives of others who knew Algy, so you did great first-hand research. Bravo. Thank you, Randy. Yes, I did interview a lot of people. No one who is living today uh, knew Algernon. Maybe only Walter's daughter, but she didn't want to talk to me. So I talked to people who knew people uh, who were Algernon's acquaintances. But through those first-hand interviews, I managed to track down a lot of info on Algernon's life, and I managed to um, fill in the blanks of his biography. Um, and Bruna asked, "How was the process of interviewing people in England, all the way from Brazil?" Well, thankfully, people on that part of England they like to they like to use computers so much. So even people who were more elderly, they used computers, and I was able to track down a lot of the people through Facebook, and afterwards I could interview them through Skype. So all the interviews were done virtually, and I believe the distance, of course, it was uh, an obstacle in my research, because if I were from there, I could have, I could have could have gone door to door asking people about Algernon. I could get additional info on Algernon, uh, but because I couldn't go there, I did the best that I could. Um, in Brazil at a distance. But I do believe that I managed to tell his entire life. I think I did um, tell his entire story. So that's why if you read my book, you'll find his complete story. His entire life is here, from his birth to his death, and of course focusing on on his uh, Titanic crossing. So this is a complete biography, I can assure you. So, guys, I think we can finish this live chat. I want to thank each and every one of you for participating, for taking the interest in my job, in my work, my projects, and I really really want to say that I appreciate you being here talking about my book. I want to thank also the page Titanic Book Club, because it was the page that chose this book as the book of the month. They A lot of members bought my book because of that, and so I want to thank all the administrators of that page. And I just want to say that you make me a very proud researcher to when you read my book. Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you, Randy, Greg, Bruna, Doug, Roberta, and everybody who was here watching. And I hope you can enjoy Algy, The Privileged Life of Titanic Survivor, Algernon Barkworth, Book of the Month, chosen by the Titanic Book Club. Okay, so thank you guys. Have a good evening and a good Sunday. Bye bye.